the Pacers and the Cavaliers, it's going to come down to who is going to show up in the fourth quarter. Haliburton played sensational. Is Haliburton going to be able to keep this up against a very talented Cavaliers team? And by the way, Kenny Atkinson, who we're going to speak about in just a few moments, is one of the more underrated coaches in the NBA. He knows how to take away and take out the best player of every single team. If Haliburton shows up like he did in game number 1, expected in game number 2, that he's not going to have as many chances offensively. They're going to force him in positions and places where he's not comfortable shooting. And I expect Haliburton to have a problem in this series moving forward. I still think the Cavaliers are the better team. They're the bigger team, and they have the better overall roster out of all these, out of the Pacers. But the Pacers do have depth. They do get enough points off the bench, which they're very talented that way, and they score a lot of points off the bench. And they have a very good coach that's won a championship with the Dallas Mavericks and Rick Carlisle. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Pacers shock the world and knock off the Cavaliers. But guess what? The Cavaliers, when was the last time they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals? It was when LeBron James was on this roster, when Kyrie Irving was on this roster, and Kevin Love. They haven't been there in such a long time. I don't expect it until it happens. Kenny Atkinson was set up very, very well going into the season with the talent that they have. The question is the Spider going to show up in the important parts of the game? That's something that he hasn't done over the years when he played for Utah, and now in the last 2 years with the Cavaliers, as good as he is, there are games that he disappears in. A lot of these players have to show up in the important parts of the game. Garland last year in the playoffs.
They'll make adjustments for sure.
Well, Kenny Atkinson's a great coach, so they better if they expect to win. The problem the problem right now is, are these players going to show up in the important parts of these games? And I still believe they have the best player in this series. I still believe that the Spider is the best player in this series. If he shows up and he gives you 30 points and Garland gives you 20 or 18 points and they're getting enough defense, and rebounds, this is one of the best offensive rebounding teams in the whole NBA. They're a great defensive team too. So Kenny Atkinson preaches defense. That's what he preaches, and good guard play. Kenny Atkinson is the guard guru. Anybody that knows Kenny Atkinson, what he's done with the Knicks, Jeremy Lin. Ask Jeremy Lin. Ask Steph Curry what Kenny Atkinson did in the second part of his career. He is a great, very well-respected coach when it comes to the point guard position. The Celtics are the better team. They're the better overall team. There's no question that they are. They're benched. They're getting bench play from all different guys. They're getting at least... There's 2 guys off their bench that are giving you between 10 to 15 points. If that happens, the Knicks are going to have to get that from McBride. They're going to have to get that from Hart. I think the Knicks in this series have to start hard off the bench. We have been arguing that. I know me and Fish have argued and spoke about this off air. They need to get offense, and they need it more in this series than they ever did. Because if they plan to win this series, they're going to have to get something from their bench. And they got to play more off their bench. Maybe, I know Josh has been saying this, Wright should play in this series. Delaney Wright, he's taken over when Jalen Brunson fell and he got hurt and he was out for a significant amount of time. They weren't getting enough point guard play. They bring in Delaney Wright, and he was much better than what McBride was giving you. And McBride, let's be honest, he is not very good in the important parts of the game. And the guy who's defensive savvy, he hasn't been very good defensively against Detroit either. So they need to get more charisma and more defense and offense off the bench. There's no charisma on this team either. You got guys like Karl Anthony Towns complaining and arguing during the games because his team's putting him not in the right position to get the ball. You saw it early in this game when Hart was trying to pass him the ball in the first quarter of the game. So you have to get more in your rotation. You're going to have to see more from Mikal Bridges. I think Mikal Bridges is going to play a big factor in this series. You're going to have to defend him or put him on Jaylen Brown or put him on a guy like Jason Tatum. And then you have OG Anunoby, who has played sensational. I think he was the best player besides Jalen Brunson in the first series against Detroit. You're going to need more of OG. OG's going to have to be a dominant defender if they plan to take this to a 7-game series. And that's the only way the Knicks are going to win this series. They're going to have to take this long, and they're going to have to put Jason Tatum in a position where he's uncomfortable. Jason Tatum, when he's uncomfortable, and we've seen it with Jimmy Buckets, when he's uncomfortable, he's not the same player. He forces up shots, and he's not comfortable shooting the three-pointer. And then he tries to shoot those 17, 18-foot jumpers, and that's not what he is good at. He's good at, on the outside, his jump shot and where he likes to position himself, and he's a very good defensive player. And they also need to have more Robertson in this series. Robertson needs to defend against Porzingis. If Porzingis breaks out and gets loose in this series, if Porzingis gives you 20 to 25 points, the Knicks don't stand a chance because Brown's going to get between 20 and 23 points in some games, might even get 30. And then you have Tatum that's going to probably get 27 to 28 and sometimes 30 points in a game. If you have Porzingis giving you 20 to 25 points, there's no way you win this series. And Karl Anthony Towns needs to wake the effing up. I don't understand Karl Anthony Towns. This guy, he's a great player when he wants to be, and he disappears when he doesn't know where he is. And he needs to understand, you're playing for New York. You're not playing for the Timberwolves anymore. You're not the second superstar. You could be the superstar besides Jalen Brunson. I know Knicks fans think that Jalen Brunson is as important as anybody on this team. Karl Anthony Towns is just as important as Jalen Brunson. Now, Jalen Brunson's the better player. He's the captain. He's the go-to guy. But you need Karl Anthony Towns to give you 20 to 25 points a game, give you 10 rebounds, and play some kind of lick of defense, which he hasn't done in Detroit. And I don't expect him to do that against this Celtic team that's a great offensive and very well-run offensive machine.